So at the beginning, you've got all this time and not too many clients. Well, I didn't.
Yeah.
And so you just are like, I'm going to do everything myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess the mistake there is you're wasting all this energy you could be putting into things to generate a client base by not delegating.
Yeah.
So obviously you delegate where you can, that's within your budget. But as you the rite of passage is becoming so busy that you do burn out because you're also trying to do everything financial and you realize you can't do it.
Yeah, you need to make sure that you stay in your zone of genius, and doing my accounts is not my zone of genius. It is something that I balk at and I just look at and go, no. And so that was the first thing I passed off, and it just revolutionized my life and my business. Hello and welcome. Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists, and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to your needs, the needs of the practicing natural therapist. With interviews, herbal discussions, something business and something clinical each week, you'll get the variety you need and enjoy to stay motivated in practice. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite Size Podcast. Now, we had an amazing conversation with Stephen Judge back in December. So I've asked him to come back and join us here in January. Stephen is a naturopath in Sydney, as you probably remember from our last podcast, and he works in Surrey Hills, which I still haven't looked up on the map, but I promise to do so. And he works in an integrative practice, and he works mainly in the area of gut and mental health. And last time when I spoke to Stephen, he touched on the fact that he went through a number of burnouts himself in his practice. So last time we talked really quite specifically about the structure of the consult and testing that he does. But this time I really wanted to delve a bit more deeply into his burnouts and coming back to practice and the changes that swept through and the changes that he had to undertake to get back to business and get back to doing what he loves and what he trained for. So, Stephen, thank you so much for coming and joining us today.
Pleasure. Happy to be back.
So tell us, when did you first have, how long out of college was your first breakdown? Because we've all had more than one, and they're not breakdowns. They're just like burnouts. They are not we're not crashing out and everything happening. They are a business naturopathic burnout. I mean, they're a small business burnout, and I think that they're across the board in so many groups. It's not just naturopathy, nutrition, everything else. It's across all of the small business world that we have these burnouts. And when did you first realize we've all had them? Everyone out there, we've all had them. And if you're in one, please seek support. And let's talk about one now. So Stephen, tell us about how you realized you were going into one and what you did to support yourself.
How I realized was really easy, I guess, as a practitioner. I mean, you just start to get irritable with patients and like you don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. It's like, screw everyone, like you're all so needy. Like I start to go there. Why am I doing this? So I'm like, oh, I've clearly lost my my why. All right. That's the big sign for me. I start to get like, I don't want to see people, they're all annoying me. I feel like I just have these needy clients who just are bleaching from me. But then right, you have to look at yourself like, okay, well, where are your boundaries? Like, what are you doing? What needs to be refined? There's that aspect to burnout, but there's also like, there's other elements. You might be doing too much or not taking care of yourself as well. There's many reasons why. But in terms of like the first signs for me, and maybe other people can relate, it's just kind of losing your why. And not wanting to see people and getting over it, and getting sometimes even fleeting thoughts of like, do I really want to be doing this? It's really hard.
The empathy just drops away, doesn't it? There's just no, you just can't.
I've had those moments a handful of times over the years where I'm like, can I really do one-on-one for the rest of my life? It's pretty intense. And it's a weird, and then you start to feel like it's strange because when you start to become busy and get that flow you've always been envisioning, like when you started out, suddenly you get it and you then are like, whoa, like this is really full on. So it's, I guess, a good problem to have if you get that problem. And then it becomes about managing, okay, how do I make this sustainable? And not kind of resent what I'm doing, because this is what I always dreamed of.
So what boundaries did you put into place? I know for me, it was timekeeping. Timekeeping was my big one, and having a day off a week when I say a day off, being a mother with children, it was never really a day off. It meant a day of something different. So a day off isn't necessarily, and I'm sure for you, you've got running around to do and all the rest of it. It's a day off, isn't it? Sitting down with your feet up. It's just doing something differently. So what did you do did you do boundaries and things? How did you nut some of this?
Yeah, look, again, it's taken me a long time. Like in terms of boundaries around self-care, in terms of my own personal routine. At least one day off a week of zero work-related things, I think is crucial. And I'm sometimes guilty of not doing them. Still. Not very often now. But that was a really hard one for me. But it's almost like, I think, especially once you start to get busy and you are in private practice and running your own show, I'm in clinic 2.5 days a week. But I have a lot of work to do around that. So I schedule out my week, like what I'm doing on certain days and certain time blocks, and I stick to it as best as I can. Right. And because I want to be organized, but not too rigid, So the Sunday is like, do not go near emails. I've had to kind of unlearn my addiction to checking my work email. And then it's like, okay, Monday's the day off. I'll do admin / treatment plan, whatever, from 9 till 12. And then I'll resume at 2 or 3 and work till 6 and stick to that. I kind of, the blocking out very specifically when you're going to do what has been really helpful. And it keeps you focused,
Oh, absolutely.
So that's been helpful to prevent burnout. And within that schedule, though, not just scheduling in when I work, but making sure I schedule in all the self-care rituals as well.
Yeah, totally.
Hey, lunchtime, I go to the gym and then have my lunch. Like I schedule it in, and otherwise, again, maybe other people, I need that level of structure or I get too distracted.
I think that's across the board for everyone. And I think that people who say I don't need structure, they're the ones who need help. And what is the help?
I used to say that, God, I want to be spontaneous, but I was just so unproductive.
Yeah. I mean, you can be spontaneous in your evenings. That's what evenings are for. Be spontaneous outside of the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So, I mean, I'm, my self-care, meeting up with friends on my day off or having a lunch that I can go to, checking in with people and saying, well, what are you up to? Can we go out? It might be I'm booking something for 2 weeks' time to meet someone once our calendars finally align. But it means that you've got something to look forward to as well. So that, yes, it's not spontaneous to book a lunch in 2 weeks' time, but it was spontaneous to actually start texting that person and get into the flow of meeting up with them so that you can go for that lunch in 2 weeks' time if that's when your calendars align. Because it's all very well when you're 18, my daughter will come to you, meeting, blah, blah, now we're going for a drive. I'm like, okay, be spontaneous as you like. Just be back, not too late, please. And that's fine. She doesn't have a business. But once we're in this, I have a business, I have these things to do, it's really important that we do structure our time and that we don't, like Sunday, not checking your business emails, having an autoresponder. How many people don't have an autoresponder? Mine, I know, is switched off.
I've got a good autoresponder. I think I've shared it in the hub before.
Yeah, it's really important. Mine's turned off at the moment because I went to change it and forgot to turn it back on again. So I know mine's turned off at the moment. And I'm telling everyone, you've got to put it on. So this is a reminder to me by the end of today. So if anyone emails me, you will get my autoresponder. But yeah, it's like we need our autoresponders on, and that's an autoresponder in our life as well, to go, I've got to autorespond to myself to sit down and have lunch. How often I'm talking to people and I'm like, oh, we'll have a chat at lunchtime. Like, oh, I've forgotten to book myself a lunch today. Well, that's part blocking out your diary, and you can do that. Like my diary is blocked out on every day for lunch, and if it's not, it's because I've got an 11 o'clock lunch that day because I'm working late or whatever, and I'll have another break at 4 or something, just because that works with people wanting appointments. But if we don't look after ourselves at a base level, we can't look after our business, and our business is ongoing. And once we get sick of our clients, which is the biggest part of burnout there is you lose that empathy. You've lost why you're doing. You've lost your why, and you need to come back to your why. So how do you come back to your why when you discover you've lost it? I personally take a break.
Yeah, it's back to, I used this quote I did a podcast with Vitally recently, and I was asked a similar question around burnout and stuff. And I was personally very inspired by an interview between 2 functional medicine practitioners in America, Kelly Brogan and Dr. Sachin Patel. And they were having a similar conversation. Like, what do you say to all us practitioners on the front line who are burning out and this and Kelly just said, it's like the Zen saying, chop wood, carry water. It's like literally self-care, back to basics, self-care rituals, and also the mindset of, if you do hit that space of total burnout, it's like, okay, I just have to, draw my energy away from that for a second and get back to the mindset of like, my self-care is kind of all I'm here to do. That's it. Not take care of anyone, not help fix anyone, save anyone, heal anyone. Forget that. Just really get back to refining your self-care rituals. And routine, because then you will essentially come back to an energy of presence with yourself again and tap into your why. And then that will just permeate back into clinical practice, and you won't be so burnt out. That, just hearing how they had that conversation, I don't know, that really kind of helped me, hearing how that was explained. And I always come back to that. So I haven't burnt out in a while. So I'm like, cool, I must be doing something right. During COVID, actually, there was a moment for sure. But I think everyone was feeling that. But in the past, my self-care, my routine's been pretty good.
Yeah.
And I make, it's like a discipline, and within that conversation these two had, it's essentially the practice of discipline, but without judgment, right? Because you're going to fall out of it eventually. You're not perfect. You're going to have days where you're like, fuck it, I don't want to do anything. I'm not doing my meditation. I'm not doing this. And that's normal. But it's really just getting back to basics.
Yeah.
And the mindset of like, no, I'm not here to help anyone, actually.
Yeah. Because this is going to come out at the very start of January. So everyone listening to this now, you're in the first week of January. And so you might well still be on your holiday. You might still be on your break time. And it's a perfect time now to look to the year and to make some of these plans for self-care, to make some of these plans for blocking out the diary, to having definitive things happening, to look at your day and go, wow, exercise before I have my lunch. What a great idea. Stephen was doing that. I'm going to go for a walk every day if you don't belong to it. I personally hate gyms, can't stand them. So I've belonged to several, and it's we call it price per wear. So if you buy a really expensive blouse and you wear it once, then that, I'm sitting here in a blouse, so that blouse would be, this one isn't, by the way, but say it were a $500 blouse, price per wear is once, it's $500. But if I wear this like a school uniform, perhaps every single day, then my price per wear comes down to like 50 cents per wear because I've worn it so much. So my gym price per wear at one point did get to a $500 session, and that's when I gave up my membership.
Yeah.
But I will go for a walk. And I find that going for a walk really, and I've got a hill not far behind me that we've only found because of COVID and because of the 5K limit. I didn't even realize this amazing walk was there. So I can go hill and across amazing gully. It's all really beautiful. There's all the native animals, the whole 9 yards, the whole lot, and come back. And I feel rejuvenated. And so I have to do that a couple of times a week. I don't have to, obviously, but it helps. And all of these things. So here we are at the start of January. So everybody listening, what are you going to do to support avoiding burnout in 2022? How are you going to structure your day and still be spontaneous, still be able to do those things, but still save yourself from that, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm exhausted. I don't want to get up. Oh, you're so whiny. You know, you need to get over yourself as a client. You know, what's wrong with you? How can I help you?
Yeah. And, you know, beyond the basics, like, exercise, meditation, a good breakfast, and all that stuff, right? Personally, in my experience, I do feel like what has been imperative for me personally and kind of surviving since I'm still going is mindset.
Yeah.
I know this topic, some people, it's a bit of an eye roll from some people, like, oh, I understand that, but there's logistics of business and you got to, I was like, yeah, I get that. But I don't know, like when I first got into clinical practice, 0 patients, you know, qualified, cool, how am I going to do this? You know, I didn't know Tammy Guest or you existed. This is a while ago. You know, Google, just, I don't know, an algorithm got me, some random dude in the US, some natural healthcare practitioner, mentoring person. I thought, oh, this looks good. And I signed up and did it. And the first 4 weeks of the course was all mindset.
Yeah.
And I think luckily for me, I am a total, like, I'm obsessed with that stuff. Like, I'm a total self-help mindset junkie. Like, that stuff doesn't make me, it's not an effort for me to get into that. I love all that. Yeah. If anything, it suited me. Cause I'm like, oh, good, because I'm avoiding all the other stuff, like website, social media. Like, but so the point he was trying to make was like, doesn't matter what you do, like you have to go into this with a particular mindset, and it's an ongoing practice. And it's this ongoing practice of reminding yourself why you're doing it.
Yep.
And, you know, learning how to manage fear and doubt, because that will always come back in waves, and how to manage that. And also, you know, whole other conversation, but like quantum theory and envisioning your ideal, you know, future reality and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Many people, and, you know, psychocybernetics to Joe Dispenza and all stuff. I'm really into all that stuff, and I still practice it to this day. And I guess I feel like it's really worked for me. And in terms of self-care, all that's really important to me.
Yeah. It's really...
because I've seen it work in my experience. Yeah, and it's not like I'm now at this place of like, oh, I never have fear and doubt, and I'm just manifesting. Like, no, it's still quite rocky, but I need those practices to kind of stay focused and not burn out. And, you know?
Yep, totally. And so it took me a long time to discover walking, and how much it really did. Bizarre. You know, it's such a simple...
I only discovered it during lockdown. I had nothing else to do. Oh, this is nice.
Yeah. I mean, I used to walk with the children in the pushchair, but that was to put them to sleep. It wasn't for my, well, it was for my mental health, but they would also go to sleep. So I'd get 5 minutes, you know, half an hour's break because they were asleep in the pushchair. But, you know, when you go into your own business, it's like, I've got to do that one more thing. I have to do that next thing in my business. I have to do those Canva slides. I have to do this. I have to do that. Or what about my paperwork? I mean, outsourcing for me has been, outsourcing my accounts has been
brilliant.
The best thing that I could ever have done. Having a bookkeeper was that up-leveled my business in itself, because that is my terror. of not of making money, of putting money in the bank, of doing those things, just getting the paperwork right, just making sure all the receipts go through, that I do my end of year. It's like, and yet my husband would look at me like, it's such a simple thing to get your stuff together and like for your end of year. Why can't you do it? No. I'm like, no, I work for a business. You know, I have my own business. I'm not working for somebody else where there's literally 4 pieces of paper at the end of the year. I've got 1 million pieces of paper and I'm not organizing them properly in the first place. I'm not doing it properly in the first place. And I'm holding myself, you know, I've put it behind this wall that I can't cope with. And then and I've started talking about it, and the same, you've gotten some funny algorithm. I didn't get a funny, this woman phoned me and said, you need a bookkeeper. I was like, no, don't be silly. Oh, no, I don't need a bookkeeper. And then she phoned again and she said, you need a bookkeeper. And I went, oh, okay, then we'll make an appointment. Like, oh, you coming over? She said, no, I'm in Queensland. We're going to do it online. Like, oh, okay, how do I do that then? She said, you just post me your piece of paper, you just post them to me and I'll just do it. Oh, okay. Then I got terrified the first few times that they hadn't actually made it there on my pieces of paper. And she just did it all. She's been doing it for the last 6 years. And I'm just like, this is amazing. My life has been revolutionized. Now we do it. Now I take a photo and it goes in an app and things like that. But back at the start, I post it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the accounting thing, like, you know, it's funny, when I was starting out, I had an accountant and I went in with all these questions about how to manage it. And he kind of laughed and looked at me and said, make some money first and then manage out how to fix the mess. I said, okay, good point. I wasn't like making any money.
Yeah.
But I was obsessed with all. He was like, look, go make a mess of it, then come back to me. But yeah, I've only in the past year, 6 to 12 months too. I'm not sure if you follow financial management systems, but I'm following Profit First.
Oh, I see. The thing is with Profit First, it doesn't take into account, in Australia, we have offset accounts. So if you've got a mortgage, you should have an offset account. Right. And so the Profit First doesn't take into account, because in America, they don't have them. So if you have a mortgage in Australia, you need to have an offset account, and that takes up 3 of those accounts within the Profit First system. So yeah, because you want all of your money, your tax and everything else offsetting your mortgage, because it reduces your mortgage payments, because it reduces your interest.
Okay, I have to ask my accountant about that.
Yeah, so if you've got a mortgage,
small plug to Victoria Heath, the naturopathic accountant.
Yeah, if you've
in terms of delegating, and like, I hit her up for, you know, dealing with the mess that was my financial system. Totally transformed it, and now again, it used to make me nervous and stressed every time I needed to go deal with my accounting, but now it is like a seamless, beautiful system, and it takes her style of managing it with you and Profit First. There is a lot of mindset and money psychology involved, and again, it suits being a entrepreneurial, you know.
So I've been doing Profit First for years. And so I've been doing it. Yeah,
Victoria is amazing. She's because she gets the industry as well, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, she's been doing a couple of years now. It's great. I should get her on here. We'll get her on here, everyone.
Get her on here.
There we go. I'll get her on here as well.
She's got a course going out. She's
there we go.
Transformed me.
So I will get her on here. But yeah, so that was the only problem I had because I started doing it years and years ago, and the only thing I thought about it because
she'll have a loop. She'll have a way to figure that out.
But if you've got a mortgage, because it's 7 accounts or something, and 3 of those are in different banks, we don't touch them because one's your tax and one's your super. And so of course I have money going into my super and I have money going, and that's in America, they don't have that. So there's a couple of things that in Australia, because of the offset account system, because you want to reduce your mortgage. So where am I putting my tax? It's going into.
I reckon she'll have a system. I reckon she will.
Yeah. So that's but yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for years. I did it not with her, I did it with him. I've done his course, and I've done his doing it course, not his delivering it course like she has. So that was the only changes that I made, but it works brilliantly because you know where everything is. You've got your account sitting there, you know what's what, and there's another app as well that it's a website I was told about the other day, and it shows you, so you can work out what you're paying and where you're paying it into. I will find the name of that because I know I closed the page by mistake. I will find the name of it, and it will be in the show notes, people. So you can have a look at that. And that's another way of looking at where your money is going to, so that you're allocating correctly across the billing system that you have, not necessarily just accounts, which is a motorbike system. So this is like paying your bills system, so that might help some people as well. So I will find that's a budgeting.
So I guess it is like I was just thinking, in terms of preventing burnout, getting into I guess it for me it was, but maybe for other people can resonate. Like, I guess it is almost, when I've worked with certain mentors, and a common phrase is like, the mistakes I wish I didn't make, and here's what to do so you don't make the mistake I did. But I think it's almost like a rite of passage of learning, what to not do and what boundary. I think it's a bit of a rite of passage. At the beginning, you've got all this time and not too many clients. Well, I didn't.
Yeah.
And so you just are like, I'm going to do everything myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess the mistake there is you're wasting all this energy you could be putting into things to generate a client base by not delegating.
Yeah.
So obviously you delegate where you can, that's within your budget. But as you the rite of passage is becoming so busy that you do burn out because you're also trying to do everything financial and you realize you can't do it.
Yeah, you need to make sure that you stay in your zone of genius, and doing my accounts is not my zone of genius. It is something that I balk at and I just look at and go, no. And so that was the first thing I passed off, and it just revolutionized my life and my business when I did it. And it's not that expensive to have a bookkeeper. It's actually not. It's not that expensive, it's and I think because it takes so much stress away. If the thing you hate is causing you major stress, then in actual fact, it stops you from being productive in other areas because it's causing you so much stress. And so if you can ditch that, like if one client can cover the cost of one session with a bookkeeper, you're going to revolutionize 6 months of your life.
Exactly. And again, this is like thinking back, leaving college, good luck, running a business, doing this other stuff, I didn't know all this.
Yeah.
And I guess my kind of lifetime of conditioning was like, save as much money as you can and do everything you can yourself, and don't delegate. It's trying to like unlearn that and take the zone of genius approach.
Yeah.
Tammy got me onto that book. That's very helpful. What was it called?
Oh, I don't know if there
Big
is.
Leap. The Big Leap.
Yes, that one.
Oh, it's like, cool. Okay, that's how I need to approach things, not the like save as much money as possible by doing everything I possibly can.
Yeah.
Save money, like that kind of scarcity mindset. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean, there are some things like, you might be a bit sort of anal about some things and you really want to hang on to those things and you don't feel you can share them, which means you have to look around and go, what else can I share? What can I ditch? What can I get rid of so that I can do these things I refuse to let go of, that I don't want to share, that I'm struggling to share. So I have to get rid of this other part so that I can hang on to that one until I can share it. And there's some things about our business we can never really share because no one's going to love your business as much as you do.
Yeah.
No one can love your business as much as you do. So because it's your business. So everyone else is going to be an employee. So we have to respect their time and their boundaries, and that's why it's good to pass off something you hate, because then you don't mind them doing it within their boundaries and in their time frame.
Yeah.
I get emails from I'll wake up in the morning and quickly check my emails, and there'll be one from my bookkeeper, and she's been working on my books at midnight. I don't care when she works on them. If that time frame works for her, that's great. No problem for me. That's her choice. I don't mind getting an email that's come through from midnight. Okay. And because my boundaries were to get rid of it. My need was to get rid of that stuff and revolutionize my life. So I might have done it. It might have been Tammy that finally said, Geraldine, do you know a bookkeeper? I was like, yeah, I've got the name of one. Contacting me. She's the one who's Marie's bookkeeping is putting herself out there to me all the time, and I'm just pushing her away. I can't remember, but it was like, and I was just like, okay, here's this woman who's clearly going to support me. She was a bit surprised about the GST free consult thing at the beginning. And she was like, what? You're GST free?
Yeah, they all respond like that, don't they?
Like, you have to send them. You have to send them the ATO.
And their weird grey areas of everything.
Yeah. And then you have to send them the ATO thing, and they're like, oh, okay, cool. Okay, you just have to separate it out on your Stripe for me. I'm like, that's fine. It's all on Stripe. And there you go. Now that I've remembered to write it all out, I can get it all in CSVs and I can send it to you and it's all done. And then I can have the GST free part. So, yeah. But anyway, I think it's probably time for us to say goodbye on this one. So it's the start of 2022. Have you got something you want to share with everybody that's listening to help them, or that you feel is really significant for 2022?
I don't know, like just in general or with their business?
Yeah, just here we are. It's going to be we're right at the start of January and everybody's listening to this. So mine is outsource. And mine is everyone go and outsource. Outsource at least one thing in 2022. That is my thing for 2022. Outsource at least one thing. So what is your thought for everyone for 2022?
I don't know. What's coming to me always is mindset,
Okay.
Maybe shake up, what are you doing? How are you tending to the garden of mindset and intention, for the day, for the week, for the month, in relation to your business and what you really want and what type of clients you want to attract. And
Perfect.
I shared a document in the Nat Hub a while ago, but I can share it in your group as well if you want. It's like a pre-consultation reminder checklist, and it's all kind of mindset stuff. And if I'm kind of freaking out and a bit wide and anxious one day going into practice and losing I kind of just go back to this and I'm like, oh, it's all good. I'll share that. It'd be like, it's been really helpful.
Yeah, I would love that. If you wouldn't mind sending that to me, that would be fantastic. And I will post that. I'll post a link in the show notes for everyone as well, so that they can download it and have their own copy. So that'd be great. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you all, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the Bite Size podcast. And as usual, if you wouldn't mind, give me a 5-star review at the end. And thank you, Stephen, for joining us today.
Thanks, Geraldine.
Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast for the weekly episodes. If you'd like even more support and learning, then the Academy is for you. Here you'll find part 2 of the herbal discussions, more clinical learning, and case studies to support your clients in practice. Bye for now.